What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be going over how to scrape Zillow for listing information. We're going to take it from Zillow and then put it into an Airtable. And then I'm going to show you step by step on how to do that using Zillow's hidden API, which, if you aren't aware of what APIs are, that's okay. All you need to know is follow the steps, and that's how you can scrape Zillow and then add all that information into a sheet like Airtable.
So the two softwares we're going to be using are make.com and Airtable. And Airtable is it's another sheet tool, a lot like Excel or Google Sheets. And we're first going to use two different sheets inside one table. So this is my table, Zillow Agent Finder right here. And I'm going to create two different sheets, campaign and then listing agents, where I'm going to store that information. And we're going to be using make.com to do the actual scraping of Zillow. Make.com is a no-code automation software. If you don't have it, you can sign up in the link below in the description, and there's a free tier for 1,000 operations that you can sign up for, and you can set this up for free and see how it works. And so, so we're going to use Airtable and we're going to use Make. And I'll show you real quick what this scenario in Make looks like. This is the whole scenario. What we have is different modules here calling different softwares and their APIs in those softwares to communicate with each other to then pull the information from Zillow and then place it into Airtable. So the first one that we have is we're going to actually pull a campaign that I created. So that's that campaign sheet. And then we're going to take the information from that and we're going to update the search page using another Airtable module. And then I use ChatGPT to actually update the JSON request. So when we're pulling this hidden API, there's a thing called JSON that we need to send to Zillow. It's the way we are going to communicate with Zillow inside of Make rather than using a traditional browser. And then we're going to take that information, we're going to plug it into an HTTP module, which is going to call the hidden API, and then it's going to get back a list of data of properties in the search that we made. And you'll see here we have 41 results. And you'll notice the different pieces of information about each property that we pulled. And then we're going to use an iterator module to iterate each of those pieces of those 41 properties. And then we will do another HTTP request to Zillow again using the properties link. And we're going to call that API and get the information from the properties listing page. And then we'll store all of that inside Airtable. And we'll use ChatGPT again. I'll show you to just clean up the agent's name. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is set up our Airtable. So like I said, we've set up two different, ignore the rest of these for the time being, but I've set up two different tables, and we have the campaign table and we have the listing and agents table. So the campaign table has a few pieces of information, and the reason I have the campaign is because if I want to scrape a number of different areas or different filters off of Zillow, then I can add that all in here, and then we can use Make to do all of those different, to target all those different areas. And so, like, for example, this one's for Atlanta, Georgia, but let's say I wanted to target Los Angeles, California, then I could create a campaign for that too. And then this is where all that information is stored. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually delete all of this data so we can start clean. And you'll notice I have different fields set up. I have address, city, state, beds, baths, square foot, listing price, and then so on and so forth. And you'll notice that after we pull the information, what pieces of the property information we can actually take and then store in Airtable, so you can change the fields based on how you see fit and based on what information you want to see. So back in Make, I created the Airtable, and then my first module is to actually get that campaign. Now, you might be wondering, okay, so in this campaign, I mentioned earlier the JSON request. What is this and how do you get this? Well, we're going to want to go to Zillow. And in this example, I'm using Atlanta, Georgia for my search, and I've changed the filters to for sale and up to $250,000. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to right click in the white space here on the right, and I'm going to open up Developer Tools, and I'm going to click Network. And I'm going to click this little pause button up here, and I'm going to click it again to clear all of the network activity. And then I'm going to click Command R on my Mac to refresh this page. Okay, so all this information might be overwhelming if you aren't used to computers and developer tools, but what we're looking for is we're looking for Zillow's hidden API. And so what that is when anything is displayed on a web page, there is the web page that is displaying that information is pulling a lot of that from a database somewhere else. And what they need to do is make what is called an API call to that database to get that information to then route it to the browser to display it. So what we're looking for is the hidden API that is calling the property information. And so what you'll have to do is I'll show you, start at the beginning. And if you go to response, we're looking for a response that contains the property information. And so the ones that we're going to be on the lookout for are where they have the semicolon in between the brackets. So these are the ones that are going to most likely have our JSON response or the hidden API. And so I can tell you right now that the one we're looking for, because I've done this before, is, give me 1 second to be able to find it. This one, the async create search page. So as you can see, this has a number of the properties on here, and it has like the beds, baths, the address, the price, so on and so forth. So what we are looking to do is, instead of have this information sent to our browser, we want to have this information sent to our make scenario. So then we can take this information and use it how we see fit. So what we're going to first do is we're going to headers, and we're going to want to, and actually before that, because I want to show you using Airtable, we'll go to payload, and we're going to copy, this is the JSON request. So if you copy that value and then you go into here, you can paste that into Airtable so that it can pull that information. And so that's what I've done already. I pasted that JSON request in there exactly how it is. And then I've also created a start page. So inside the JSON request, you'll notice that the current page is listed here. And what we'll do is we'll have the ChatGPT module update the current page to the correct page. So what I have going on here is I have the current page right here, listed right here. And I have this module, the update search page, this Airtable. And what I've done is I've chosen this particular record ID of that campaign because we're updating it. And then we're going to increase the sum by 1. So we use the sum function, the current page that we map from this module here of the campaign that we just pulled. So that would be the current page, which is right here. And then we add 1 to it, and we put that in parentheses. And that will increase our search page by 1. So the next time we search this campaign, it'll be on the next page. So in this case, the next one would be 4, and then 5, and then 6, and so on and so forth. And then we have ChatGPT, and this is just an easy way to update JSON or anything if you have AI do it for you. So in this particular prompt, I have it updating the JSON to that current page that we just added. And then we have an HTTP module. So what is this? This is where we're actually going to be calling Zillow and that hidden API. And so where did I get this URL? Well, let me open up Zillow in split view so you can see. Just click inspect again. One more time, let me go back. And we'll refresh it again. And go and find the response. Just give me 1 second, and it's right here. Okay, so where did I get that? If you look into the headers, this is the information that our browser is sending to Zillow. And so we're sending it to this particular URL, which is the Zillow async create search page that we placed inside the URL. The request method is a put, so we change the method to put. And then we start to add in a number of these headers. So these request headers, the ones that are in here are required. It's not all of them. If you are ever confused about which ones to put in, you can always add in every single one of these request headers. Some of them, if you miss the required ones, the important ones, Zillow will recognize you as a bot, or it'll be a bad request and it will not return any information. So the ones that I have is authority. And so what you do is you copy the request header and then you copy the value and you place that into the value. And so I did accept, and then accept encoding, accept language, and then very important is your cookie. So you'll copy you'll do the cookie, the name of the header, and then you will copy your entire cookie and place that in the value. And then we're also going to want to use the referrer. So in this case, what I've done is I've taken the referrer link that's here and I've placed it inside the campaign. So if I see if that'll open up. So I placed the referrer link here inside the campaign. So it'll pull from there. And once again, we've lost it. So we got to go back again. And once again, we are now searching for there we go. Okay, so we place the referrer link in there. And then in this case, this is the referrer link, and then the user agent, which is the last header. And then inside the body, we're also going to want to include the body. So the body type is raw, the content type is JSON, application JSON. And then the request content is that updated JSON request that we put in the Airtable. And then we had ChatGPT update the page. We also want to make sure we parse the response. So I'm going to go ahead and split these up so we can see better. And I'm going to just unlink this so I can show you how that works. So if I run once, it'll pull the information from the campaign, it'll update the search page, and then ChatGPT is going to update the search page as well in the JSON request, and then it will make a request to the Zillow hidden API. Okay, so we got a status code of 200 and we returned, and then we got a good result. And as you can see here, we returned 41 results in this particular search. So the next thing to do is to iterate all of those, because if we don't, then we won't be able to split those properties up and store them separately in Airtable. So we use the iterator module, and how you find modules is you can right click here and you can click add a module, and then you can search for the module that you want to add. So in this case, it's the iterator. And what I have put inside the iterator is an array, and that array is the list results. So if I click here and I go to data and I look at cat1, search results, list results, this is what we put in there. And so I already have that in there. Then after that, I use the tools I create a random delay. And the reason for this is because after we iterate, we're going to make another request to Zillow, another HTTP module. And if we do it too fast, then Zillow's going to recognize us as a bot and it can ban us from accessing their site. So we won't be able to pull information. But if we create a random wait time, then it makes it seem as if we are a human and we aren't a bot. So by making it feel random and it doesn't go too quick, then we can basically trick Zillow into thinking that we're just a normal human browsing their website. So we need to, and how we do that is we choose the ceiling function and then random multiplied by 100. And you can find those functions up here. So if let me recreate that for you. So I click ceiling function and then I'll choose random and then I can choose the operator multiply and then I can put in 100. And that's how I create that formula. Next is we are going to want to search the property page. Now, this is a little tricky. This took a little bit of time to figure this out, but basically this is the URL we are going to be requesting. And how you can find that is actually by going back to Zillow, and we're on the search page. Just move some stuff out of the way and I'll clear that. And what I'll do is I'll just click on this property right here, 2592 Baker Road. And it's the same process, so that we need to find the hidden API that we are calling. So we have to search through here and we look at the response. So what do we get? Do we get the property? And this one is a little trickier to find. It's not that one. Okay, this one. So this is the hidden API that we're searching, and this is the request URL. Now, this URL, there's a few things we need to change, and that is the ZPID. So let me show you in the iterator. If I just click here so you can see the variables. The thing that's unique per property is the ZPID that each property has, and you can find that here. And so what we're going to be doing is adding that, injecting that into the URL, and then we're also going to be changing the refer link. So a lot of this is the same as the initial HTTP module. There's a few differences, like I included this header, the client ID header, but everything else is pretty much the same. But the refer is we're going to use the detail URL instead of the original referrer link. So we use the detail URL as the referrer link. That's very important. And then we also inject the ZPID into this URL. And so it goes right here. And you'll notice after this A, there'll be a number of digits from this particular property. Like for the example, well, we've lost it. But before editing this URL, there was the property that we just searched, ZPID. And what I've done is I've just deleted that and I've replaced it with this variable, the map that we'll take from the iterator. Because what we'll be doing is making a bunch of different requests with different ZPIDs. So after that, we make the request, and then I have another tool here that's going to this is where we pull more information from the property. So this, in this case, is we're pulling the agent's name and the agent's phone number. And so what I've done here is I've used a get function, and I've taken, so once we make that request again, and this is when we're searching the property page, and we can find who it was listed by, and we have the elements here in the ID and the text, and this is who it was listed by. So Engel and Volkers, Atlanta. And that's the listing agent, or that's the broker in this case. They don't have the listing agent listed, but a lot of the times they'll have the broker and the agent listed and their phone number as well. So I did a get function, and I targeted the listed by elements, and then I targeted the first position of that array. And then for agent 2, it's the same thing except for 2. And what that'll do is that should also get the phone number. And then we have ChatGPT I use this just to clean up some of the space in the name, because when we return the name, for some reason, there's a number of spaces after their name. And so this just cleans that up. And then we'll store all of this information inside of Airtable. So I have the address. This is all from the Iterator module here. And then we have the listing agent name that we cleaned up from ChatGPT, and then the agent phone number, which is the agent 2 text, and then the brokerage name, and then Zillow link, ZPID, and then days on Zillow. And you can find all this information by mapping from the iterator you'll have here. And then you can map that into where we want to place it. And then what I've done is I've also linked this to my campaign. And what you do is you put the ID of the campaign if you want to link it to that campaign so that you know what campaign has what properties. So what I've done is I've added a link to field, which you can do by, let me just show you by adding in another field. And if I click link to another record, I can choose another table and link to a particular record in that table. In this case, I'm in campaign and I'm linking it to listing agents. And the reason for that is because then I can see, okay, for what campaign did I add what agents? And then it also tells me how many listings were found as well. And when I say listing agents, it's synonymous, it's the same thing. So agents and listing, so it's going to take the listing and it's going to find the agent for the listing. So both, either one. All right, so this is now set up. So if I click run once, what it should do is if we go to listing and agents, we will start to see this populate. Now I'm actually just going to turn this, because I have it at 100 right now, I'm going to make it 10 so it goes faster. And I won't let it run for all of it. If I click run once, it's going to do it for all 41 properties. But for this demonstration, we only need a few, so I'll stop it after a little bit. But when I click run once, this should pull the campaign that I set up in Airtable. It'll update the search page, and then it'll update it again with ChatGPT. It will make that request to Zillow, and then we're going to iterate it, and then we're going to put a sleep module so that Zillow doesn't think that we are a bot. And then we are going to search the property page with another HTTP request to Zillow, and then we're going to collect that data. We'll store that in the agent's name in two variables. We'll edit their name, and then we'll create a record in Airtable and link it back to the campaign. So if I click run once, and we shall see what happens. All right, so now it made that request. Now it's sleeping. It's going to make another request to the search property page. And so if we go back to the Zillow agent finder, we have now added in our first property. Now you can see the second one's added in as well. And it'll keep going and doing that on and on. So I'm going to stop that real quick. And I want to emphasize the sleep module and adding a randomness to it before making a call to Zillow. If you make too many calls in too short amount of time, it could think you're a bot and it could block you.
All right, guys, hopefully that was easy to follow along with and that all made sense. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. And that is how you can scrape listing information from Zillow and then add it into a sheet like Airtable using a no-code automation software like Make.com. But now that you have that data, the possibilities are pretty much endless with what you can do with it with a software like Make.com. So if you want to see more automation videos, or there's a particular type of automation video you want to see, put in the comments below and I will do my best to make that automation. All right, guys, well, that's the end of this video today, but be sure to like and subscribe for new content.